I used to enjoy Ant-Man, the movies. They were light, funny, and not serious. Quantumania is more serious, and it gets to start to build up Kang the Conqueror, I think is his name. And I think the movie suffers a bit from that. But this is all weird, like right? Like we know what is going to happen years in advance. Like the Marvel Studios, Disney Studio, they're all public about it. Like they have press conference saying, "Oh, we cast this actors for this role. We're going with this plotline, and in this year, these films would come together. These characters will come together in this film, or these films will lead up to this movie." It's weird, right? It's new. I'm not sure it's for the better. If I were to try and put some words of wisdoms on it, to make like a lesson, I would say the more they use the shrinking ability in the Ant-Man movies, the more fun the Ant-Man movies are. And in Ant-Man Quantumania, they use the shrinking abilities all but twice, more or less. The the quantum realm is treated in this movie like a different planet, a different universe, or a different timeline. Like once they're there, there's no difference. Time flows the same, gravity is the same. Everyone speaks English. A few odd aliens, and breathe. There's like bars and houses and cars, and so what's the point of going to the quantum realm where they have unique opportunities, weird abilities, all kind of options they could explore that we don't have with you. Like you can go to different. It gets the same. It's just it's a missed opportunity is what I'm trying to say, and it feels kind of pointless. If you're going for, like I could say, okay, I'll go on a bit of a detour here, but let's say for um, Doctor Strange, a lot of the talks I had with my friends about that was they say multiverse of madness, and then you are just expecting a multiverse of madness, like a lot of multiverse traveling, different, uh, yeah, timelines or character iterations, kind of like they had the What If series. But there's in Doctor Strange, so there's like 10 minutes of different weird universes. Like one of them is paint, and then once they get to one, they stay there, and there's no more multiverse. So it's not a lot of madness. And I think if you, with the title Ant-Man Quantum Mania, mania in the quantum realm, like it's crazy. You're not getting that because it's not crazy. They're not going to different places or different sizes to solve different things. Like imagine you could do it like Inception, really, where Ant-Man has to deal with, or anyone really have to deal with anything on like one size, like maybe on a hair on the back of an animal or someplace, and then something happens, so they have to. Oh, but then they go smaller, like in the exception, where they go deeper, and then like, oh, now we have to fix this on this size scale, and that is affected by the bigger thing, and the small thing also affects the bigger thing. Kind of like if you've seen that I'm thinking of that scene in Inception, where they where they're robbing, invading a place while they are falling in the van. Yeah, you could do that. That's what I am thinking when you say mania. Crazy and quantum, you could do that. And in Ant-Man, in Ant-Man Quantumania, they just don't. And I feel like that's a missed opportunity. Ant-Man Quantumania also had me thinking if the Marvel fan service is becoming a bit of a burden, or is becoming a bit of a disservice the way they do it. I usually don't spoil in these videos, and I try not to, and I intend not to do it here. Um, I personally don't like to watch trailers for any movie that I know that I'm watching or I'm going to watch, just because I feel like trailers in general ruin everything. Uh, but it wasn't impossible for me to avoid finding out that the character Murdoch, the big head, would be in this movie. That's unfortunately, don't go if you don't go watch these movies very close to opening days. Just being on the internet in general poses a risk, and everyone wants to talk about Murdoch, and I do also a little bit, um, but I don't think I'm spoiling anything. Um, I don't follow the comics very much or like at all. But I have seen Murdoch before, and I know about him. And I feel like Murdoch fans will not be happy with this version. Like I thought we were going into like the Mandarin, where it's like silly, or they're trying to subvert your expectations or pull a prank on you, what you want to call it. Um, so I didn't really like this version of Murdoch. Not that I really know a version of him, but I feel like fans won't like it either. It's just what I'm trying to say. Um, I think I'm not sure it could have been done much better when they take his mask off. Like things are just sometimes are just easier to believe, um, stylized, animated, and in comics where you can draw a big face on a little body. And when you try to make it look real with CGI, I'm not sure it could have looked much better. But then they also took his mask off. They could have not done that. He also moves silly, and the other character treat him silly. And I also didn't like the person it is. No spoilers or anything. But it didn't have to be that person. I didn't like what they did with Murdoch here. Ant-Man himself takes a bit of a backseat here in the Ant-Man movie, but I feel that is to be expected. All of these movies, even the so-called solo ones, will turn into ensemble movies with quite a bit of cast. That's just the nature of this um, superhero thing. And also they used Endgame to age up Scott's daughter Cassie, so you gotta put her to good use. I'll give Ant-Man the movie this credit. It still deals with what they call the blip from Endgame, that 5 years where, yeah, well, and that is nice. Just because it's a bit of a pet peeve of mine, saying you have something so colossal and then the other movies just ignores. Um, like I wish someone would reference the giant that's halfway through the Earth from Eternal, or that night when Earth was turned thousands of years back from Moon Knight, but nah, they just ignore that. I've always been a fan of the Ant-Man movies. When they were like fun and light, and I think they were placed really cool. Like the two previous ones were both placed as the after like the dessert, the light dessert. They were all placed after an Avengers movie, which would be like say big, heavy, and serious, and then we go, okay, here's Ant Man. He's not really dealing with anything. We just shrink some candy, or we shrink some cars, or we make giant candy, or whatever they do, and that's fun. You have fun with these. Um, and I really like that. That made me a fan of the movies and the whole thing. And so I still found this movie worth a watch. I mean, I'm just too curious to not watch these anyways. But I found it worth a watch, but definitely in the comfort of a streaming service near you. And I suspect we are closing the book on Ant-Man. I mean, it's been years. They're made with real people, so they want to do other things, or they get too old. uh, that's just the way the real world works. Um, this movie is less fun than the two others, and I'll just have to live with that. So hey, thank you for stopping by today.